Welcome back to another episode of the Sad Dads Game Podcast. I'm Eric.
I'm Shan.
I'm Tucker.
And I'm Emerlie.
All right, everybody, you're joining us today for another super awesome, amazing, cool, fun episode of Eric's Indie Corner, which is an excuse for me to talk about indie games. So what we do here is I pick an indie game and we talk about it. It's a pretty simple premise, but as a person who very much likes indie games, it's something I like to do. So the indie game that we're going to be talking about today is a super fun game called Snake Pass. Snake Pass is a 3D puzzle platformer with no jumping. So we'll talk about how exactly that works. Published and developed by Sumo Digital, released on March 28th, 2017. So it's been out for a little while. It was one of the early launch games, one of the earlier games that I got on my Nintendo Switch when I was like wanting extra games to play on the Switch. And now that we're kind of inside the launch window for the Switch 2, I've been playing, games on my Switch 2. It made me think about when I got my Switch 1, and which is why I wanted to talk about Snake Pass today. So we're going to break it down, talk about story, gameplay, visuals, and sound, and just kind of go from there. So story for Snake Pass. This is another one with some pretty simple story. You play as a cartoon, very cute snake named Noodle, because of course he's named Noodle. And you are accompanied by your hummingbird friend named Doodle. So Noodle and Doodle are out on an adventure. And basically the story is that there is a mysterious feathered intruder in your home world, and he is stealing keystone blocks that make you able to travel between worlds and realms. And you have to figure out why he's doing that, why they're going missing. And the plot doesn't really get any deeper than that. You go from level to level and you recover keystones, and that's pretty much it for the story. Even towards the end, there's not really a huge payoff. It's just kind of an excuse to string some levels together. Yeah.
Well, Eric, this is selling me on this game already.
I know. So if you like really complex stories, this is
with
not
immense
that.
payoff.
With immense payoff.
And platforms you can't jump on.
Yeah. So
I'm all about the platforms without the platforming. That sounds my kind of platform.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah, Tucker is bad at platformers. Yeah. He's bad at jumping. And so this is right up your alley. There's no jumping, but there are platforms. So yeah, the story isn't really a huge focus of this one. I kind of undersold it there a little bit, made it sound underbaked and kind of lame, which it sort of is, but intentionally so. It's just more about the gameplay, because it is a pretty unique gameplay experience. So the gameplay, how it works is you are Noodle, you are a snake. Snakes can't really jump. They've just kind of got their little slithery things. So you have if you hold down one of the triggers, it propels you forward. And then you have a way to control the pitch and yaw of Noodle's head, which will point him in certain directions. And you kind of you move the joystick back and forth to slither more quickly. So it's kind of a more complicated and involved move system, wherein you are holding down the trigger to propel Noodle forward, and you can hold down the opposing trigger to wrap around. Like if you wrap around something and then you hold down the other trigger, Noodle will grip onto it tightly. And so it's a game of getting from platform and getting between these different challenges and puzzles, rather than running and jumping like a normal platformer would. You are wrapping your body around different holds and things, and tightening and loosening your grip and moving your head in the right pitch and yaw, so that you can get from point A to point B. So it sounds very complex, and the control scheme takes a little bit of getting used to at the beginning, but it is a very unique, fun gameplay experience, and it's pretty simple. My kids have played it before, and they've had a good time kind of moving around and being a snake. So to answer your question, Tucker, that's kind of how it works. Rather than running and jumping, you just kind of slither around and move. It doesn't sound super exciting. It is a bit of a slower paced game, but I've had a great time with it. It does kind of make you think on your feet and think normally in a game you see a collectible up on a platform. You're like, oh, I'll run and I'll jump and I'll kick off of this enemy, or I'll jump off of the wall, or I'll do a backflip or whatever. And in this one, it's more complex. You're like, well, I can't quite reach there just by slithering up the wall. I've got to wrap around this and go over there and find a different way. And so It makes you kind of think about your environment more than you normally would in a typical platformer. All right. This is going to be a short episode of just me talking at you guys about this game.
I couldn't find enough to like add to this conversation.
Me neither. I'm searching for something to say.
What that tells me is that what I'm saying is very interesting and needs no embellishment. Yeah. So this is going to be one of our best indie episodes. I can already tell. It's just Eric talking the whole time and no one else says anything. When Shan was watching this trailer, he said, "Oh, this looks like Yooka-Laylee," and it does have very much like an old school kind of a Rareware vibe. But without the running and jumping of a typical platformer. So it's a collectathon style platformer with no running and jumping. And you move through these different levels. Each world has several levels and they test your skills in different ways. So one of them is water themed and you swim and slither through the water, and another one you have to avoid pits of lava. One of them you have to like deal with different wind currents and things like that. And so it does a good job of kind of ratcheting up the challenge and adding new elements that make you kind of, so the gameplay doesn't get stale. You're always kind of figuring out new ways to deal with your environment and new challenges based on that environment.
So I have a question. This is a lot like Banjo-Kazooie and Yooka-Laylee. Visually it does look the same, but also you mentioned you have Noodle and you have Doodle, and just like those other games, you have an animal that is land bound who maybe can or can't jump, but they're like a bear can only do so much, but then you have a flying companion that can help you like hover a little bit, do a little bit of platforming. So if Noodle can't jump, actually do the platforming in a traditional sense, does Doodle do anything? Like, do they combine forces and you can kind of hover a little bit? Okay. I'd like to hear about Doodle too.
You can't quite hover, but what Doodle does do is, since your body, everything is physics based, so Noodle's body is long. If your tail is dangling precariously, say you're above a lava pit or you're about to fall off an edge and the gravity of like the weight of your tail is about to pull you down over the edge, you can tap a button and Doodle will come and he picks up your tail and kind of like makes it so that that's not a factor with the physics. So that's an extra way to kind of avoid, hazards or falling off of a ledge, or to help you give an extra level of granularity to how you maneuver around. Is Doodle will come and he just kind of flies over and he picks up your tail and makes it so that that's not something that's weighing you down. You can use it as as just another way to work your way around a situation.
Yeah, I
that's
find
how
that
Doodle
really
factors
fascinating. In. Yeah, that's really cool. Even as an indie game, they're able to get the physics involved in this. So that makes me a lot more intrigued in trying out this game.
Yeah, it's a very fun, silly little game.
Well, suddenly I am very interested because I found out just now that David Wise worked on this soundtrack. That's the thing I knew that
Shan was going to love. Yeah.
He also worked on Yooka-Laylee, so there is a spiritual through line, just not in any of the design.
Yeah, so visuals and sound, that was, where for the music, it's composed by David Wise. He's pretty famous for things like Yooka-Laylee, Donkey Kong Country, helping Grant Kirkhope with the Donkey Kong Country games. He has a very specific, like bouncy kind of a vibe to his music, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Not a bad track. He just makes incredible music. And so it does kind of like the music has an old school Donkey Kong or Yooka-Laylee kind of a vibe. Banjo-Kazooie sort of even sometimes kind of a vibe to it, where it was smart that they got him to do the music because that was like the art and the world that they have this all kind of set in. I think that they really wanted to evoke that old school like Rareware kind of platformer game, but have a very different gameplay style. So David Wise, he's the man, makes good music.
Yeah, so even though they didn't have any of the designers or developers from Playtonic or Rare or something like that, they clearly were inspired by those franchises such that they wanted anyone they could, such as a David Wise, to come on to this game to, then have that theme or that feel with everything else that they ripped off from that style.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm guessing.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that, like I said, they were trying to evoke that kind of old school Rareware thing. So anyone who's played ukulele or Banjo-Kazooie or any of the Donkey Kong Country games, Donkey Kong 64, a lot of those games were either solely composed by David Wise or were David Wise and Grant Kirkhope, who is also another legendary music composer for tons of great video games. So it really goes a long way in kind of making it feel like maybe it was some sort of lost gem on the N64 that no one knew about until today. Except for the visual presentation and the physics are a lot more complex than anything the N64 could have handled. But it feels kind of like a game that could have existed on the N64, even though technically it obviously couldn't have. But
he also composed Snake Pass and Ukulele the same year.
Yes. Yeah, he was just on fire. Yeah, I guess, Ukulele released in 2017 as well. So I'm getting pretty excited for the remake that they're working on, Yuka Replayly, which is a suitably silly name. But yeah, that should be a good time.
Do you think it might actually make that game fun?
I don't know, because see, I really liked most of Ukulele. I thought there was a lot of really fun stuff and a few things that I didn't like at all, like the entire casino level. I don't know how they're going to fix that in the remake or the remaster or whatever, but I don't know.
Empty, aimless worlds and very stale, anemic enemy list with very poor AI. It just like basically every enemy was just a clone of another. It just felt like it was just so sad, it was such a shell of a spiritual successor.
Yeah, it's like they had all of the elements that and they just didn't quite get it to the level that they wanted to. Yeah,
they clearly didn't know how to refine level design at all, and they've the beauty of Banjo-Kazooie is every level is just super small and compact, and you can get every level done in 20 or so minutes. And Banjo-Tooie just threw that out the window and made every level 3 times larger, and so you feel aimless and you don't know where to go ever, and that's why that game kind of sucks. But yeah, Ukulele felt like it was going the Banjo-Tooie direction,
just making everything big. Yeah.
Where it's they only kind of nailed Banjo-Kazooie, not because they were talented developers, but because they were constrained by their limitations with being new to the platform and just kind of nailing it accidentally.
Restrictions breed creativity.
I need
to hear. No, I'm talking
about
the developers.
No, for sure. I thought you liked Ukulele. I mean, you named your dog Lele.
No, I named my dog Laylee when the game was announced on Kickstarter because I was so excited.
Prior to playing it, I didn't realize
years
that was before
the game was released.
Yeah, it took a minute for it to come out after being
on
Kickstarter.
I guess the game was released 2017. My dog was born in 2016, but I knew about the game a year or two before it was released.
Okay, this whole time I thought you really loved that game, but as long as the music is fire. Because it's the
music
same guy.
is fire. It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah. Well, and they made a sequel to Ukulele.
That's pretty great.
Called Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, and we've covered that one before in a previous episode, and I love that game. I think it is fantastic with one pretty serious blemish, but mostly very amazing. Yeah, the last level in the Impossible Lair is horrible. There's just really no way around it. It's just bad. I don't like it at all. It is a very poor design choice.
Other than that, pretty great. Pretty amazing.
But yeah, so Snake Pass, if you like those kinds of games, if you like old school Rare, if you like platformers, if you like David Wise music, then Snake Pass kind of scratches all those itches while also being something pretty unique. I've never played another game where you control a snake quite like this. So it's fun. It's unique.
Eric, is that a snake
simple.
in your pants, or are you just happy to be talking about this game?
Both. Oh, I love it. Low hanging fruit. But I'm here for it. Yeah, so not a lot left to say about Snake Pass. You should definitely check it out. It's a short-ish game, 5 to 12 hours, kind of depending on how much extra stuff you want to do. There is like an arcade mode that just lets you, after you beat the game once, you can kind of go through like time trials, and there's an where you can collect fruit points rather than the keystones, and see how quickly you can move through the levels, which can be quite a challenge because it's not a typical movement system. And so I took everything really, really slow because I was trying to get all the collectibles. And so to kind of speed run these levels would be an interesting challenge. And it's something that I am not good at even a little bit, but it's there for you if you want to do that. So yeah, 5 to 12-ish hours, depending on how much you want to engage with. It's available on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Windows, and is $19.99. But it's been out for a long time and goes on sale pretty regularly. So if you want to just toss that on your wish list and wait for a sale, probably happen. But it's good game. Like me some Snake Pass, lots of fun. A platformer that even Tucker can play.
The best kind.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can find us wherever you find podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Check out our regular series every Monday, Eric's Indie Corner every Thursday, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
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 Outro. Bleepity doof, bleepity bloopity blow.